Close guard is one of the best positions to attack from. So like I can submit, sweep, take the back. I have loads of options, and his options are very limited. Most of his energy is going to be spent just trying to open the guard. So if we get one thing right, is if we end up here, I've done something well, or he's done something wrong. This is a good position for me to be. And one of the main things we're going to focus on at the beginning is just breaking posture. You go to any competition, one of the main things you'll hear all the time is one team shouting for this guy to get posture, to sit up nice and tall like this, the other guy to break the posture, to have the guy closer. So that could mean a whole bunch of things. That could mean all the way down here. It could mean just here. Just having the elbows on the body is broken posture. So we're just going to focus on four main ones just to get that. So the first one, if he's creating a frame like this is what I have to get rid of. So just grabbing something and trying to pull him down is rarely going to work. I have to deal with the actual problem. So number one is I just get my hands inside. If I can wax off, he has no contact with my body, my legs, it's going to do all the work. And throughout all of these, the legs is the constant. My legs are always working. I'm always trying to pull and walk my legs up higher. The higher they are up his back, the more work it is for him. Down here, he can easily sit up. When they're up behind his back, I'm not saying he can't sit up, but it's much harder. He's going to waste a lot more energy, especially when he can't make a frame. So number one is we just get our arms inside. I could control the biceps, it could be on the wrists, and then my legs do all the work. It could mean getting his hands to the floor, it could mean dragging them across, overhooking, which we'll get to. Number two is sleeve pulls. So it could be same side or opposite side. But any sort of pull like this to break that frame and get elbow contact or all the way across is always good. So it could be same side sleeve pulls, opposite, or I could even double up and catch that elbow as well. And if I start pulling, breaking the posture again, using my legs, that's going to start to break his posture as well. Number three is actual hand control. So rather than allow him to put his hands on me, I'm actually going to hold. Again, this could mean just dragging forward or pushing in. When I push his hands to his body, it makes it very easy to bring him forward. And the last one we'll focus on is opening the elbow. So if he creates a good frame here like this, rather than just pulling here, I want to mess with this structure here. So if I go to the elbow, pull it open, and then bring it forward, it's going to be much easier. So just opening the elbows creates good disbalancing. So forwards, I could go inside, I can start pulling on the sleeves, whether it's same side, opposite side. I can assist by grabbing the elbow and dragging it. I can open elbows and start dragging across, or controlling the hands and pushing them in. All the time the legs are working. Even when he's creating a nice frame like this, my legs aren't trying to hang around by his butt like this. I'm always trying to walk my legs up, especially when I have broken the posture. I'm always walking, always trying to keep my legs as high as possible. Jiu-Jitsu 101, so we're going to go close, armbar from close guard. This one we're going to break the posture just by pulling on the sleeve. So same side, I can make a little pocket grip here and I start to pull. Same thing, my legs are always working. Now I want to control that elbow. If he does a good job, he's going to get his elbow back to his body a little bit, build his posture and start again. So once I remove that hand, my hand is going to go and hook behind his elbow. It makes it much harder for him to pull back. Now there's loads of different grips. This translates well over to no-gi. I can just hook behind. And now I want to continue controlling his posture. So my legs are working and my other hand can now go from sleeve to shoulder. And this is also creating a frame which we'll use later on. I can hold the gi, I can actually hook on his armpit here, it doesn't matter. But now I'm controlling his posture with my arms instead. Now it's okay to open my guard. So if he tries to posture now, it should be a little bit harder. If I had nothing and I open my legs, that's no good. So sleeve pull, elbow control, and go and find that shoulder. So the arm that I've got here, that's the one I'm attacking. My foot is going to go on his hip. And it's important, and I'll show you in a sec, that this knee is close to his shoulder. I'm not going to open this too much. I'm going to pinch here. And I'm going to use that to start creating an angle. So rather than stay in front, this is really common. People try and chuck this leg over. It's really hard to do, especially if you're not too flexible. But I start to pivot and find an angle. And when I do find that angle, I'm still flat on my back. Again, it's really common that people shrimp away. His hip is now to the floor, and there's no way I'm going to get this leg over. So the back is going to stay flat to the floor, and I use a windscreen wiper. Again, this is controlling posture. This comes up high, so it's my windscreen wiper. I can even go and grab it. So if he tries to sit up now, I still have broken posture. Now it should be very easy to bring this leg over the head. I'm not going to cross my feet. I want to put as much pressure on his head as possible. So my hamstring go right against his face, and I'm going to clamp down, trying to extend him away. Once I've got here, the knees are pointing up, knees are pinched, and I can go and control his wrist. Pinky on the chest, thumb points away from me. That way I know where his elbow is. If he starts to rotate, we have to start looking for other things. So 2 hands control the wrist, pinky on the chest, thumb points up, knees are pinched, and I use both heels down as I extend my hips up. So we sleeve pull. I get that elbow in contact, and then I go find it, really hook behind and drag it into the center line. And then we'll go find his shoulder. So I'm hooking, that's controlling his posture. I've also created a frame. So when I get my angle, I go foot on the hip, pivot, I have a frame here. If he tries to square up to me, it's very hard to do. If I didn't have this, he might be able to square up and have to start again. So to get my angle, there's my windscreen wiper. I can hold, I could stay here like this. The leg comes over. Remember, we're not going to cross our feet, and we're going to smash our hamstring right into his face. And the foot is going to clamp down. Then I can go to the wrist, pinky on the chest, and thumb up. One from the other side. So sleeve pull, same side. Get the elbow in contact and hook behind. This elbow stays pinched. I'm going to go find his shoulder. That helps break his posture. If his shoulder is still far away, we're using our legs. Clamp on. Now I can open my guard. Foot on the hip. This is not open here. I'm going to pinch this. It's also going to block his elbow running away from me. And I start to create my angle. Remember not to shrimp away. It makes it very hard for this leg to come over the head now. So I'm going to point my butt this way. Here's my windscreen wiper, really clamping. If he tries to posture now, it should be quite hard. And the leg can come over. Right against the head, and we're clamping down. Trying not to cross the feet, especially with this one on top at the moment. So we're clamping. Control the wrist, and hips up. So in our classic armbar, of course, this guy is going to try and protect this arm. It's a smart move. So he's going to use his free arm to protect. Not only that, he's going to do something called stacking. He's going to put his weight, my weight, over the top of my head. So as he leans his weight in like this, it makes it very hard for me to extend my legs. A lot of times I have to bail out. Sometimes they even end up passing from it. They'll start to remove their arm, and he's got to pass from it. So we have to know how to deal with this. Number one, so when I get to my armbar position that he's already defending, here like this, I'm going to try and keep this arm as much as possible. And I have to create space here. So when he does stack, he's going to try and put my weight over the top of me. Now, if he did a bad job of stacking, if his head was not over the top of me, I can easily collapse him. I can go and hug his leg, bring it to my chest, and then just stomp down and finish from the back. If he does a good job of stacking, my hips, my knees are going to be over my head. Yes, like this, I'm going to be up on my shoulders. So it's important, I try and keep his hips away. If we just rewind a little bit. So once I've got here like this, I know he's starting to stack, I'm just going to frame on his hips, like this, to create some space. And this is the space I want here. So my hand changes, it goes from hips to the far leg. I can use the back of my hand and put my hand up. Now look, I'm on my shoulders. Remember, if I was a little bit more on my back, I could collapse him. But I'm up on my shoulders, so I should be able to spin. So I just spin my head through to the other side. And we end up with a belly down armbar. Now, If his leg was stretched away, I could finish the armbar here, just like normal. If not, I can force the roll. If we just turn, rather than grabbing his leg and trying to lift all his weight over this way, I'm going to force him to do it. So my hand goes to his shoelaces and I'm going to pull his foot towards my head. He's going to put pressure on his knee, and to take that pressure off, he's going to give me his weight by dropping his hip. So instead of lifting up to his butt, I pull it towards my head. See how he's tilted his hip? That's because his knee's hurting. So if I just keep rotating now, he's going to roll. I can finish the arm bar. Leg over the head, pretty much the same situation. 2 hands on the wrist, knees are pointing up, pinky on the chest, thumb points up. From this side. So in our arm bar position, I'm framing on the hips. I want to create space here. If he's too close, I won't be able to get my head through. So my hand switches from the hip to the far leg. I can use the back of my hand and just use that to push. I'm on my shoulders and my head peeks out the back. Now he's not in a position to stack me. If his arm comes out here, I could finish. He might even initiate the roll, which is even easier. If he's staying here though, rather than hugging here or lifting this way, this is very heavy. Shoelaces, pull it towards your head. I want to try and tweak his knee a little bit. He's going to give me his hip, his weight, and then I can pull it over. Stay heavy on the head, and we can come back with the arm. Knees point up, my hips are underneath the arm, 2 hands on the wrist. Finish. Again from our sleeve pull. So as we're pulling here like this and I start to control, maybe he's already started the stacking process. So rather than trying to gain posture, he's already leaning into me, and it can be a smart move because he's trying to keep his arm bent. If he knows this arm bar's coming, that he's going to bury his head, I can't bring this over. So from here, I'm going to keep the same grips, but as he starts leaning in, I shoulder walk away. And again, I can use my foot on the hip, but I'm shoulder walking away. I'm not allowing him to put my hips over the top of me. And rather than getting all the way, where we found out sometimes this can be difficult, I just want to get over his shoulder. And that could mean one big jump, or it could mean just walking it. Doesn't matter how many steps you take, I just want to cover his shoulder. The one I should cover, that foot is going to be on the bottom. It's going to clamp it a lot more. If I go this way, there's a little bit of a gap here. You might not be able to see it. But it's not as tight. So the one I'm trapping, that foot is on the bottom. My heels dig in and my knees pinch. So if we rotate, you should be able to see his shoulder is trapped in this hole here. So my heels pinch, knees pinch inwards. If he tries to push that shoulder back through, it's not going to happen. This is a really strong position. If he felt really in trouble, he could try and take this arm out completely. But he's just walking into triangles, which we'll touch on later. So this is the arm we're going to attack. The shoulder is trapped. I can go straight into my arm bar just from here. Straight out the arm, lift up my hips. Natural reaction from this, he wants his arm bent. So as he starts to bring his arm up, I switch my hand inside. So I have 2 inside hands against one of his. And now I pull his arm this way. So I start to hit an Americana. If it's not quite going on, we finish with the hips. Here like this. So I have my straight arm bar. If he starts to bring it up, my hand switches. 2 inside hands, and we pull outwards. Down to the floor. If I need to finish with my hips as well, I can finish. Now to counter this again, he wants to bend his arm, but rather than bring it to his body, he brings his body to me. Not only that, he'll grab my head. What does that do? It stops me extending. So now this is the arm we're going to attack. I can hug under, blade of the wrist, just before the elbow, on the tendon, and I roll it over. And then I can hug both my arms. I could finish like this. This is a really strong arm bar. I pinch it on my head. I don't allow him to take it back. Hug, and I pull his elbow into my chest. If you feel there's no space here, just get to your side a little bit and then hug in. At any point during this, I can always switch back to my normal arm bar. And then I can go traditional. I lower his head just by swinging my hips to the side and then swing over. Same thing, clamping on the head, don't worry about crossing your feet, and we can attack our regular armbar. So from the same angle, sleeve pull, shoulder, elbow and shoulder. If he does start to stack me, it's very hard to walk my legs up like this. So I shoulder walk away and then I can walk. If you can jump it, perfect, but we need this shoulder trapped. Feet across with this one on the bottom. Heels pinch into your butt, knees together. It should be very hard for him to do anything with this arm. Either push the shoulder back through or take the arm out. It should be trapped. 2 hands to the wrist, hips come up. There's my straight arm bar. He doesn't like it, comes up towards him, hand goes inside, 2 hands inside, and the pressure goes outwards like this. That's already going on. If I need to finish with my hips as well, I get even more pressure. He doesn't like this. Rather than bring his arm to him, he brings his body to me. He'll hug the head. I take this arm, chop over. I know where his elbow is. I can even put it into place by rolling it over. I pinch with my head to trap his arm. Ear to your shoulder. I can finish downwards like this, or I can hug both my elbows and pull it into my chest. At any time I can switch back to here and back to a normal armbar. Again, using our sleeve pull, we're going to go same side, bringing his elbow, breaking his posture, bringing his elbow down to our body. And I'm going to lock it in position just by closing my elbow. So I'm looking to sweep this way. What I don't want to do is break his posture, have a good job of controlling his hand, but him base with his elbow. So I'm going to lock it in position here. My other hand is now going to go make a grip on his legs. Now, I could go here at the knee, where usually there's a little bit of slack here like this. I could go quite low at the bottom. Remember not to grab 4 fingers inside, as close to the bottom as possible. Sometimes this is a better grip because I can actually pull his leg out. This is a good one, still works. Here's good too, okay? So the side I'm going to sweep is the one I'm controlling his arm. So as I'm pinching here, this foot is going to post on the floor, right next to his leg so he can't base out. My other leg is coming up and across. 45 degrees. So I'm not going to sweep him off of onto his hip. He's going onto this shoulder. So as I do this, my legs are high, bringing his weight forward already. If he's hanging back like this, it's going to be very hard to knock his weight over. So with my 2 grips, pinching, could be here, post the foot, the leg comes up, it knocks his weight forward, and then across like this. He can't base with his hand or his elbow because my own elbow is pinched, and I can bring his leg out. I carry on all the way into mount. I can keep this leg as long as I want. He's going to go crazy. I can just connect my feet, ride it out, wait 3 seconds and get my points. Sweeping from guard is a good option obviously because I get sweep points, my 2 points, and points for mount as well, 4 points. So outside, close guard, same side, sleeve pull, bringing his arm in, breaking his posture, hooking with my elbow, closing this other hand to his gi pants, could be at the knee, could be lower. I'm going to post this foot, this is going to stop him basing with his leg, okay, so posting, his weight comes forward and then across, so we're going at this angle here, following the shoulder. So post and knock it up. I also pull this leg out and ride it into mount. Knees are pinched, I can keep this grip as long as I want and my feet are connected. If I just abandon right away, he's got a good chance of going to find my legs. Exactly, I want to control that, get my points. If he tries to bridge now, I can keep this, I can get my points, and then carry on with my business. Same side, sleeve pull, tuck it in, other hand, go and control. Remember, your legs are always working here. I want to keep him here. If I just sleeve pull, my legs are dead, not working, he's going to sit up right away. So as I break this posture, my legs are working. Post, and bump. Keep the grip, I can cross my feet, I can connect my feet, I wait 3 seconds, I get my points, and then I can start to attack from mount. So for this setup, essentially I'm going to try and do the same sweep as before, but we're going to trick him. Whereas before it was the same side, we held this so that he couldn't base. Now I want him to base, so I'm going to make a cross grip and pull. So remember, I still want to try and hit the sweep. The further he bases with this, the better for me. So I hit the same sweep. I post my foot and I bump. Now if he didn't base, of course we just ride it over. Cool. If he's got any sense about him, he has this hand free. When I bump, he's going to base. Now it's important, this leg is heavy on him. So it's high up his back and I use it to lift my hips up. Now he's carrying my weight. So if he did take that arm away, he's going to collapse. I don't want to be like this, where he can easily just come back towards me. So as I bump, this leg is high, and I use it to lift my hips up. Now look, this is floating. I can take this out and wrap it around his head into the triangle position. Here, look, I can just cross my feet. I'm in the triangle position. Now we can start to worry about everything else. I want to move his arm to the opposite side. This gap here, I want to make as small as possible. So my hips are up, and I move the arm across. As soon as I clear that center line, hips come back to me, and I control his posture. That could mean holding his head, particularly good if you use this hand, because now my elbow can block his arm going back across. Now I'm controlling his posture, just like before from close guard. It's okay to open my legs. I can go foot on the hip and start creating an angle. And even hold my shin in place. Again, this creates, stops him posturing and helps me get an angle, and I want it straight across his neck, not running down his back like this. So the angle is going to help. And now I can lock up my triangle. Now when I lock up my triangle, just turn. It needs to be over my ankle, not my foot. His head and his arm is in this gap. I need to make this gap as small as possible. So I go from here to here. This foot then curls up. It pulls my knee in, makes everything tighter. As I clamp down here, this foot turns out. So again, like I've made this space smaller and smaller. So rather than here, knees open, it locks over the ankle. This foot hooks in, and the other foot locks out. Knees together. So the arm is across. I'm controlling his posture. I can use my foot on his hip to create an angle, and I lock up my triangle, chopping over the top. This foot hooks, and the other foot angles out. Then to finish, that was on pretty tight anyway, hips up, head down. So we're going to trick him. Before it was here, now it's a cross grip. Really act like you want the sweep. If I just half-arse it and he doesn't base, or bases very close, I'm never going to free this. So let's really try for the sweep. Breaking the posture, posting, bumping. I leave my hips up in the air, heavy on his back. Now I can drag it out. Chop around over his head like I'm already dragging his arm across my body and controlling. I don't want this going back. So if I can block it with my arm, perfect. I can also control his head. And I can just cross my feet, lock it in position. If you're flexible, you might not even have to open your guard again. If you're not too flexible, foot on the hip. Pivot and hold your shin. Never your foot, hold your shin, it's much stronger. Kick up and lock over. Remember to try and get over your ankle, ankle behind your knee. We could finish like this, you're going to need extra squeeze though. Let's try and lock it up here. This foot curls up, out, hips in, head up to finish. From the other side, all the way through. So rather than the same side, opposite. Still have my grip. I post, bump, my hips are up, comes out, and chops over. I'm already clearing the arm, controlling the posture, creating an angle for my triangle, and locking up. Always stay on the head. You see this is very common. People start to lose it. He'll sit up, bust it open, I lose the triangle. Keep hold of your shin, keep hold of his head. If he tries to sit up now, he's not going to go anywhere. Again, off another sleeve pull, controlling here. This also works well. I could block here like this, like we did previously. I can also hold here on the elbow. What I've done now is the same thing. I've broken his posture and I'm keeping that arm in contact, that elbow, sorry, with my body, okay? My other hand, rather than the previous one, on the outside, I'm gonna lift my hips up and hug under his leg. I'll change the angle in a minute so you can see. But as I hug, I'm bringing his weight towards me. It's gonna lift his butt off of his feet and I'll be able to hook his leg much better. When we finish this swing, I want his knee pretty much on my chest. So I'm not gonna try and bump him from here. Like I bring his weight over the top of me with my legs, I hug, and I try and get his knee to my chest. At the same time, as I do this, I'm not just staying here and reaching, this leg is gonna swing open. I wanna start to escape my hips this way. So as I bring it out, my leg is all the way out. I'm still pulling on the elbow and look, my butt is out. I'm not gonna stay square for this one. I wanna build up loads of momentum and loads of power. He's already tilted. Now rather than knock him over here like this leg is gonna chop back. I don't want him to land on it, make it harder for me to come up. So as this one chops back, this leg is bumping, just like the previous sweep, over to his shoulder, not to his hip. So I'm hugging, swing my leg open, it chops back, and we drive back up to mount. Same situation, I can hold this leg as long as I want. He's gonna go crazy, try and bridge and shrimp. He's not gonna go anywhere. If he can't get his feet to the floor, it's much harder. From the other side. So sleeve pull, I could stay here, I can control the elbow, doesn't matter as long as I block that elbow too. Hips up, I create space, and I can hug. At the moment, there's no gap, can't hug under. So I start to begin the process of bringing him towards me. So as I bring him towards me, I swing my leg out. This leg is going to bump him over me a little bit. And look at his leg, it's coming up to my chest, he's already tilted. My hips are pointing out, not towards him, and I start to chop this leg back as I knock it over. I can hold this position. So a little bit quicker, just so you can see the mechanics. So sleeve pull, I'm digging it in, my hips are up, I swing the leg out and my hips release. And my hips are not pointed towards. I don't build anything up, I want to be here. And chop the leg back. From the other side. Sleeve pull, hips up as I start to hug under. Again, we're going to use the previous sweep to set up another attack. So, same grips. As I start to escape my hips and I bump him over, he has a free hand. It's on the wrong side. He could still potentially base. It's not the best though. It's his only option though. This arm comes across and he bases. It stops me going forwards. So this swinging leg that originally chopped down towards the legs now swings over the head. As it swings over the head, I bring my hips underneath. We just rotate this way. I'm hugging his leg, so I have a really good angle. My knees are pinched, and I'm putting pressure on his head. Remember here, we're not going to cross our feet yet, especially with this one on top. It doesn't create any head pressure. He might be able to start to stack. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to extend away from me. He might collapse. He might finish here like this. If he does collapse, perfect, I can finish on my back in an even better position. So, trying the same sweep. As I bump him over, he uses his free hand to stop him falling. My leg, instead of chopping towards his legs, comes over the head. It's important I use my hips as well. Don't keep my hips flat on the floor. There's going to be too much space. So as I swing it over, my hips lift and come underneath my own body. Feet digging in. I can keep the leg, return. Faces. I can keep the leg, I can collapse him, I can double up on the arm. But my feet are digging in, back heeling, knees are pinched, and I finish with the hips. If he does collapse, even better. One more. really tried to hit this sweep, he's going to do the work for us. So as we drop out, he bases, leg swings over. Remember to use your hips and get your hips back underneath you. And then we finish with the arm. Now we take a cross grip for our sleeve pull, and we're going to help it along by controlling the elbow as well. So 2-on-1 grip is always good. 2 arms against 1. So I can take away his frame. At the same time, my legs are working, bringing him towards. Rather than allowing his arm to touch on my chest, belly, whatever, we're going to chuck it right across. We're going to chuck it so far across that even his shoulder passes my body line. So with this arm, I just keep punching. So sleeve pull, I go to the elbow as well. As I bring him forward with my legs, I'm punching his arm across. Now his shoulder is in contact with the floor and under my armpit. So my free arm hugs and I clamp on. And now I can start to open my guard. His posture's broken, his back's exposed. Now it's okay to open our guard. So my foot goes on the floor. I start to create space by shrimping away, and this leg is going to stay high. 1, so we can't just jump over it. Yeah, exactly. 2, so it can help knock him into the space that I'm going to create. So as I'm hugging here on his lap, I can even go and find his collar and drag this, stop him turning back towards me. I plant my foot and escape my hips. I've made a pocket of space for him to fall into, and I'm going to drag him down into that space. There's no need for me to drag him across my whole body. You don't need to. His back's exposed, my hips are behind him, and then I can go and put my hooks in. Remember, jiu-jitsu competition, I need 2 hooks in to get my points. So as this hook is high, rather than just triangling off right away, we're going to get our hooks, get our points, and then you can move on to whichever sort of control you want. So cross sleeve, also controlling the elbow. I use my legs to bring him towards me rather than allowing this arm to touch, make contact with my body. We're shoving it right across. I want his shoulder past my body, onto the floor, and I'll show you in a second, continue punching his arm across. And now his back's exposed, I can go and hug. I can hold onto his lap. If I can get that collar, that also makes it very hard for him to turn back towards me. So now I start creating space. I open my guard, foot on the floor, this leg stays high. I'm not going to drop it, and it's going to help knock him back into that space. So I escape my hips, I'm dragging with my arm and my foot as well. He collapses, 2 hooks in, and we can start to attack from the other side. So cross grip, sleeve pull, double up on it. 2-on-1 and a drag across. Now you can see like here, I continue to punch. If he tries to turn back towards me, it should be very hard. If I let go of this, I don't clamp anything, he's going to come back. So I keep punching. His shoulder is not on me, it's on the floor. And I make a grip. This is always pulling as well. So even if I let go of this, if he tries to get back towards me now, I keep my head close, my chest clamped to his shoulders. No way he's turning back towards me. I can't allow that to happen. Could be here, I could have this collar, but I'm clamping. He tries to turn back towards me, I keep my head close, it's not going to happen. Now I can open my guard. Foot on the floor, this leg stays high. If it starts to drop down low, he can start to step over, and it's not going to help me later on. So as I escape my hips, I'm pulling, this leg is collapsing into his hip. Remember, we don't need to drag him over our body. Stay right here on your side, put your hooks in, seat belt, or attack. One more. So we have our 2-on-1, chuck it across. We clamp on, foot on the floor, hip out, collapse, and we have our points for the back take. So this time on our 2-on-1, we've hit our sleeve pull from the cross grip, we've doubled up on it. Before we got a really good reaction. As we pulled him in and we threw it across, his shoulder went right past my body. Sometimes we can do it, or if it's by our own design or him just blocking it, we only get it past a little bit and we get his tricep on our chest. Same thing as before, same principles. I don't want him bringing this back I've sort of exposed his back a little bit. This is not a good position. This arm is trapped, so I want to keep it here. So we're going to hug around the back and really clamp this. So I can even let go of this arm. And if he tries to square up to me, it should be very hard to do. One important thing on this sweep is that I don't keep my hips out here. This means I'm going to have to drag his weight over my body. I want to be the other side. So if anything, I'm going to point my hips out this way. You can probably see already, he's already starting to tilt this way. And now it's easy to sweep. A lot of the times we don't even have to open our guard. I can just rock him towards me and we'll go. But we can use the previous sweeps that we've done to help us. So this hand can go and make a grip on his leg. It could be on the outside, and I'll show you a second. It could be on the outside, I can hug under the leg, I can post here like this, I can just rock him forwards. It doesn't matter, as long as we've got his weight on top of us. What's really common here is he'll sink his butt down low, and it's very hard to sweep. So now all I do is I just bring my knees in. His weight is over the top of me, and I can sweep easy. If you need to open your legs, you can post, bump, you can hit the other sweep that we did as well. You go from the other angle. Cross sleeve, pull. This time we get his tricep on our chest and we hug. And we're not going to be at this angle. We're sweeping him this way where he has no base. So I want my hips the other side. All his weight on top of us. So our legs are working. Not like this. Like this. Still clamping. Elbow pinching. I can hold, hold, hug. Sometimes you don't need anything. You just rock him forwards. This leg can post, can bump, this can help. Doesn't matter. Now when we land, his arm is still trapped. The common thing here is everyone goes, yeah, I got mount, and they posture up. Well, this is a terrible position for him. Just keep your chest on his arm. Is he going to set up loads of trapping techniques? Start advancing to submissions as well. So if he's in pain, if he doesn't like it, cool, let's keep it. All your weight on his arm, crushing his chest. So cross sleeve, elbow pull, I get his tricep to my chest, hug him round the back. I'm escaping my hips a little bit here, look, he's already falling. I can hold, I can pull it out, I can hug. I can just rock him forward and turn. I can post my foot and bump. I can escape my hips. Doesn't matter, but once we get here, keep his arm trapped. We can start working to a high mount and start attacking as well. Anytime we have this guy's hands on the floor is always good for us. It doesn't prevent me sitting up, doesn't prevent him from being pulled towards me. It also gives me a good chance to overhook his arm. So what we talked about earlier about breaking the posture, like I could be inside ties, I bring him towards me, and I overhook the arm. When I overhook, it's always as close to the shoulder as possible. If I'm by the elbow and his elbow escapes, he's getting that arm back. It could be if he frames, I could just open his elbows as he starts tipping forward, he doesn't want to face plant, he puts his hands on the floor, and I overhook. So it can come from all different positions. We're going to be on the sleeve, so I could be double sleeve, cross grip, underneath. But as I take that frame away, my legs work. Elbow through, and I wrap the arm. If I have the sleeve, I'm not going to let go until this one finds a collar. Preferably that far one. If you can't reach it, we'll take the near one, but that's fine. So now I have a strong overhook. He tries to take this arm out, I keep my elbow pinched, and it's very hard to do. Remember, as close to the shoulder as possible. And again, my legs can work up high. So now I have my overhook. Return. So once I have my overhook, now I don't have to worry about this one. So all I want is an inside tie. So if he still has a frame like this, I'm going to work my arm inside. I'm going to hook his tricep with my elbow pointing down. So this can always block. And when he starts to pull away or try to make a grip, my knee is going to slide through. I'm already controlling this posture with my overhook and my collar grip. And as my guard opens, my knee comes through the hole and my leg comes high. If he tries to posture now, very hard to do. Now I just want to move my tricep grip down to his wrist. So don't just completely let go and go and find it. Just slide down and control his wrist. And I want to make this as uncomfortable for him as possible. So shin in the crook of his arm, and I'm always pulling and pushing my shin in. It's not comfortable at all. He's going to try and alleviate this. As he starts to bring his hand away, I can punch it too, and my foot can come through the hole. And we can chop over into our triangle. Again, once we've crossed our feet, he's locked into position to a certain degree, and I can start worrying about this arm. I can release my overhook, hips up, just like before. Arm across. Now I control the posture. If I can lock it up here, perfect. If I need a little bit more, I control the posture, now I can open my legs. Once my legs are open, if he tries to posture, I need to control his head. Foot on the hip, I create an angle, holding my shin, and lock it up just like before, trying to make this gap as small as possible. So however we get our overhook, I might open his elbows, I might get inside ties, I might sleeve pull and wrap. We're going to try and make this collar grip here. Always as tight as possible. First of all, get what you can. And then we can go and tighten it up as well. Now this is my goal here. Inside tie. And the knee comes through. Hooking behind his tricep so that he can't pull his arm away. If I'm going Lego hand, he might be able to pull his arm back and loop it back over my leg, and I have to start again. So elbow inside, knee comes through and hook. Remember, I've opened my guard. Let's try and control as much as possible. Foot comes up high. Now we just slide to the wrist. Make it as uncomfortable as possible. So I drive my shin into his bicep. I can punch his hand away. He might pull it away, and my foot can come out. If you're not too flexible, struggling getting through here, open, open, close, close. Cross your feet, lock it in position, arm across, and finish as normal. From the other side, one time. So we gain our overhook. Control the collar. I go find my inside tie, open and bring my knee through. This leg is coming up high. Move on to wrist control. Punch and lock it in. Release it. Control that posture. Even when we're looking to finish the triangle, I'm not going to release the head. I'm going to keep it. I can double up, I can hold the head, the shin, but I want to control that posture and then finish. Again, from our overhook, doesn't matter how we get there, inside ties, dropping him forward, he posts, and we overhook. Again, this hand is going to go find his far collar. If we can't reach, we'll make do with this one, but later on, we'll pass this across. And as tight as possible. Now, let's say he's staying low. The triangle before is now not an option. I can't escape this leg, so foot on the floor, and I start to hip out. I start creating space on this side. My free hand goes to his neck. I like to just make a fist and punch his neck. If you can make a grip, cool. I usually find that the first grip is so tight, there's no slack here. So you don't necessarily need to make a grip. You can literally just make a fist and smash it into his neck. Now when you do finish, again look, high with the leg, control the posture as much as possible. He's not going to like this, he's going to try and back away, run away, yeah. I want to keep him locked in. And if I can finish this with a straight arm, this is going to be much nastier. If I keep my elbow bent like this, I'm not very strong. So I create a straight arm as I pull with this one. I'm punching this into his neck. So I gain my overhook, gain my collar grip. Maybe he's blocking this, I can't get my inside tie. Post my foot and escape my hip. Escape as much as you need to. If he's burying his head here like this, hip away. If you need to create a frame with the elbow first, push the head away, create a frame. And now, stand slightly. Fist in the neck. If you want to make a grip, you can. It's not always necessary. I don't like to. Thumb up, and we're going to try and lock our arm out as we continue pulling with our collar grip. Now from here, not quite going, he might start defending with this grip here like this. I'm going to hip out one more time. I want his wrist on my ribs. At the moment it's hanging behind my back. So if I hip out again, I've just shelved his hand onto my ribs. Now I know his arm is straight, my elbow's pinching so he can't rotate, and I place my foot high. Now I'm going to finish the arm bar. His elbow is right here because his wrist is placed on my ribs. Foot goes high, and I finish by closing my knee for the arm bar. I have my overhook. I hip out. I can attempt my punch choke. This leg would be high normally. I can attempt my punch choke. If he's starting to block, I hip out again. At the moment his hand is hanging behind my back. If I hip out again, it shelves up onto my ribs. You can see here. And I place my foot high. Down here won't cut it. I could finish with my elbow, with my arm, but it's not as strong. So I place it high, and then my knee I close in. I'm also squeezing with my arm as well. This just assists. So we have our out, punch choke. He starts to block, I hip out again, and step high. Again, using our overhook. The same method, we're going to start to escape our hips. We're going to attempt our punch choke. We're going to attempt our arm bar. Now, to save his arm, he's going to try and bend it a different way to what I want to bend it. So my arm bar, his elbow is pointing up, comes up, and I put the pressure on. He's going to rotate, he's going to save his elbow. It's now pointing this way, the arm bar is gone. So once he rotates it towards my legs, it's really important this leg stays high. I release the overhook grip. Still try to clamp as much as possible. So this leg is working, my knee is pinching, I use my chest, I can control grip here like this, and I start to frame on his head. I push his head away so that I can use my knee. I create as much space as possible, I bring my hips out, and now I have enough space to put my foot in front of his face. Same side as me, so not on the other side, on here. And then I start to create the angle again. And I want to face the same way as him. Here I can triangle off. It's good just to secure the arm initially, but it doesn't create much shoulder pressure. It could be quite easy for him to posture up and maybe roll me over, blah, 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 start to escape. So I can triangle off initially, just to control the arm, but I want to get up. So I'm going to cross my feet with the one over his shoulder on the bottom. And as I extend my legs, it puts pressure onto his shoulder. I can begin to sit up. And my arm is going to go over his back. This is going to prevent him from rolling. So now it's all about keeping pressure on his shoulder. Sometimes if I triangle like this, he is able to sit up because there's no pressure. If he tries to sit up and I lock it out, it's much, much harder. And now to finish, my feet come out, both at the same angle. Both come away from his head. Again, I want to control him. I want to stop him rolling. So if I can hug under his arm, if I can grab his back like this, here, it doesn't matter, but he can't roll. I have loads of pressure on his shoulder. Now I don't lift up. I keep my knees down to the floor and I sit up over his head. So I'm forcing his hand behind his head. So I'm controlling. I'm not going to let him roll. If I didn't have this, you might be able to go with the pressure. You just tuck your head in. That's it, and you could go and go for it. You could roll out of it. So keep his hand pinched on your hip and cover it with your belly. The more space I make, you might be able to start limping out, limp arming out, exactly. So I trap it as much as possible. I stick it right on my hip, cover it with my gut. Hugging over his back, feet go out same direction. Remember, we're not coming up to finish. I'm putting weight onto his shoulder, leaning over his head, and then hips up and lean over. The other angle. From my overhook, hip out for my punch choke, my arm bar, he rotates his hand back towards my feet. Leg comes up high, my overhook can release, and I start to create space. If you're flexible, you could probably just bring your leg over. I'm not. So I create as much space as possible. I frame, I bring my knee through, and I push his head away with my knee. At the same time, I bring my hips underneath. And now there's plenty of space to bring the leg through. If I can cross my feet and sit up right away, hug over his back, even better. This is going to stop him rolling. Feet come out to the same direction. I can grab on, and I'm sitting up over his head. Use your feet on the floor to get your butt off the floor. Don't just lean into him. I want to sit up over his head. Remember, it's really important to trap his arm on your hip. If we get on the far hip, we're going to lose this position. I want to keep here and trap. Something always over the top of him. Can't be out here, he's going to start to roll. So I can hug, I can have his collar, I can hug his arm, I can hold here and double up on it, but let something over the top of him. Feet come out and sit up over his head for the finish. So sometimes when you're sparring or in competition, fighting, people just give you a gift. Any sort of gift would be, in this position at least, would be hands on the floor, resting his elbows, some other dumb shit. He might even go and hug my head. Guys, this is just 99 times out of 100, this is just terrible on his part. But he's helping me. What he's doing here is taking away his own base. Now I can just hug this arm. We turn. If he starts to hug my head, this is his base. I'm just going to block it. It could mean just holding here. It could mean connecting my hands over the top. If we do this one, I'm just going to go high elbow. Rather than here, and he can still move his arm out, high elbow. So not only has he given me one arm, he's brought his butt off of his feet. So now I just need an elevator. So I've trapped this one, he has no base. This is the side I'm going to sweep him. So my other leg is going to hook his foot. If you can't see it, I'll show in a second. And I just start to extend his leg away. His knee's now away from my butt, and I can swim this foot now in to a butterfly hook. This is now my elevation. I can do exactly the same on this side. I don't necessarily need to. I just need to block this leg, and that could mean just basing. It could mean just hitting it out the way. But if you do want to hook, stretch, put in another butterfly hook, you can. Now we just lift his weight and turn. Straight into mount. So if someone's ever hugging your head, we can hug them. He's broken his own posture. I'm going to keep him here. He has no base on this side. This side is my elevation. So I can hook. It should be easy to hook because his butt is off of his heels. So I can hook, stretch, and put in my hook. I can do exactly the same on the other side. That helps me to lift both legs. You want to be real nasty? You can sit them up and just break their spine and then just turn. You don't even need this one a lot of the times. You can just like ride your bike, just kick this leg away and start to elevate. You won't be able to base with this arm because I'm trapping it as much as possible. Just hug. Right into mount. Side. Hugs the head. I can control like this, or I can hug. Extend the leg away, hook in. I can just chop this away with the back of with my hamstring, sorry, or I can extend it, put in another butterfly hook. He's going to try and use this foot. Remember, if I'm sweeping this way, he's going to try and put that foot on the floor. I can just lift it up again, and I keep elevating. right into mount. Again, we're in a good position. Don't just come up here and give him his arm back. We have lots of options here. I can start to walk, head and arm chokes. I can armbar from here. There's loads of options. No need to rush. Just secure your position and keep that arm.